Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 46 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow our show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and of course the 411mania.com website. We greatly appreciate if you could subscribe to the show, share it around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. As always, we greatly appreciate everybody that downloads, listens, and shares the show. You guys have been absolutely great in supporting us because we know it's a really busy market. Joining me today is my co-host as usual, my good friend Jeremy Lambert. Jeremy, how are you?
I am doing well, Larry. I talked about Taylor Swift all afternoon, so I'm in a great mood.
That's excellent. Jeremy, we got a busy weekend coming up. We got 3 big shows with tons of potential on them that we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, I do want to ask you, how is the new T Swift album? Is it life-changing, as I've heard?
It is. It's amazing. I did a plug here. Mark Radulich, he does a metal podcast, and Taylor Swift is the furthest thing from metal, but he allowed me on to do a track-by-track review of the entire album, and it was a great time, so you can go check that out. I know it's on Spreaker, I think it's on iTunes and all that stuff. Just search for Metal Hammer of Doom or Taylor Swift or whatever, or follow me on Twitter at JeremyLambert88, and you can find it there as well. So it was a great time. The album is amazing. I can't stop listening to it, and yes, you should listen to it, Larry. I don't know if Hannah or Alex are going to listen to it, but you should play it for them, and I'm sure they will enjoy it.
I'm sure I'll eventually check it out. I know Dan Patrick listened to it for like 2 days straight. He's a big fan of it, so it's obviously you love it. Dan Patrick gave it a seal of approval, so I will probably check it out. Before we start real quick, I have to dunk on our good friend Brian Rose from the Wrestling Observer site. Brian's a good friend, but he was talking about some stuff on Twitter, and I got to say that he's getting dunked on for the simple fact that he has vanilla ice cream like cold takes. He never goes out on a limb. Brian, you let me down. If you want to harass Brian on Twitter, he's at BR26. But for real, he does some really good work over at the Observer site. I love Brian, but yeah, he has vanilla cold ice cream takes, so take that.
I saw you tweeting at him, and you were harsh. You were coming after this man for no reason. I know Brian, and he is a very good guy, and it was weird you calling him out like that. I was like, what happened to Larry tonight? Yeah,
no, Brian knows. I love joking with Brian. He's a really good guy. He's one of the guys like me and Ian Hamilton that'll be up at the ass end crack of dawn to review New Japan shows and all the live stuff. So yeah, he's a really good guy. But seriously, follow him at BR26 on the Twitter machine. He's a good dude. We like Brian, so he does a lot of good work over there. But Jeremy, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We have New Japan Pro Wrestling Royal Quest, NXT TakeOver Cardiff, and AEW All Out. 3 big shows, tons of potential for the weekend. And we will just go in order of start times, which is going to be New Japan Pro Wrestling Royal Quest 2019, airing at, I believe, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Fight TV. It will be available later on video on demand on New Japan World. But the only way to watch it live or on a couple hour delay, depending on what you're watching Saturday, will be Fight TV. It's a really loaded card overall. It's a very New Japan card from start to finish. We start off, Jeremy, Shoyo and Rocky Romero versus your boy Ren Narita, my boy Shooter Umino, and the ass man Taguchi.
You got to give the win to Roppongi 3K here, and I figured a young lion will eat the pinfall. It should be Shooter because without Moxley, he is a lost little boy and doesn't know what he's doing.
Please. Ren Narita still needs to work on that hair game, but yeah, likely him or Shooter is taking the pin here. Probably be a good opener because the Lions are really good. Taguchi's always over. Shoyo and Rocky Romero are great and work really well together. Should be, no problem for them to have a good match. And again, a perfect New Japan style card opener. And real quick on the Young Lions, Jeremy, they're bringing back the Young Lions Cup for the upcoming Destruction Tour.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It seems kind of like it's meant for Shota or Ren Narita win, but you never know. And there's some good talent in there. And we talked about this with the G1, or not the G1, the Best of Super Juniors when Narita was in that, and even the New Japan Cup when Shota was in that. Like the young lions, they work within their limits. They're rarely going to have like a bad match, and I realize they're going up against other young lions here. They're rarely going to have like a bad match though, and so it'll be a good little addition to the Destruction Tour.
Yeah, I think the early favorites would be Ren Narita, Shooter Umino, and I think possibly Carl Fredericks from the LA Dojo, because they seem pretty high on him, and he picked up some wins on the G1 tour and stuff. So, I'm excited for that. I liked the last one, so it'll be a fun addition to the Destruction Tour, and I will go with the 3K boys as well for the opener. Up next, Juice Robinson and Kota Ibushi versus Yujiro Takahashi and Hikuleo. Hikuleo has been on excursion in the UK recently, so it will be interesting to see how he's improved. He obviously has really good size. The problem with him right now is kind of that size. He's not bad, but there are some coordination issues at times where he kind of feels like, when you get like a big dog, Jeremy, but when they're a puppy, they are small, but they have those like giant puppy feet, and they're like tripping over themselves a lot. That's kind of Hikuleo right now in terms of footwork and coordination. So excursion in the UK and getting to work with some different people is probably good for him. It's very much a Bullet Club E team versus two established stars. So I think it's pretty academic here. Juice and Ibushi should pick up the win. Hopefully Juice actually gets the pin here, because I think he needs a little rebound following the ass-whooping Moxley gave him heading out of Japan.
There's only one big dog that I recognize in the world of professional wrestling, and that's Roman Reigns, who is still alive despite multiple attempts on his life in recent weeks on WWE television. Juice and Kota, probably an easy win here. I'm with you that Juice should pick up the victory. Kota doesn't really need a pinfall, and Juice should come out in the opener and just beat the shit out of Shota and be like, where's your father at? He's nursing his elbow injury. He can't hack it. And then, that sets up the big third match with Moxley.
I would actually be perfectly fine, like, after the opener, if they just Heyman into the second match and Juice came out and kicked the shit out of him. That would actually play really well. It's not a New Japan thing so much, but I wouldn't mind it at all. So, not a bad idea. Next up, Jeremy, a match with a ton of potential. Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo, the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, versus Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles. This one, if you guys have been paying attention, Robbie Eagles was part of Bullet Club. He left with issues, following issues with Phantasmo, which led him to joining Chaos, which is a really good story overall, because Ospreay was the guy that wanted to bring him into New Japan after working with him in Australia. And then when Eagles came in, he ended up joining Bullet Club. And then on the Best of Super Juniors tour, you basically had Robbie Eagles trying to kind of do a fair play Yano thing. He didn't want to resort to all the Bullet Club tricks, and El Phantasmo was, more than willing to try to keep him on the dark side. They did the big face turn when they did the shows in Australia, and he's now reunited with Ospreay. Definitely a potential banger on paper.
Really looking forward to this match. We unfortunately did not get to see the New Japan Cup. I think that's going to be out, the Super J Cup. Yeah. That's going to be out in September. And from what I heard, obviously Ospreay sounded like he killed it. Sounded like Phantasmo had a strong tournament. And we know Phantasmo cost, spoiler alert, Phantasmo wins. He cost Ospreay the matchup in the semifinals. So they've got the rivalry going. You set up the rivalry with Robbie Eagles thrown in there as well. Ishimori's obviously in there. So should be a great match. Ospreay is obviously going to bring it, being in the UK and everything. So I don't have an Eagles as well, and Phantasmo. I don't have really any doubts about this match.
Yeah, and of course with Ishimori and Phantasmo being the junior tag champions, obviously a win by Ospreay and Eagles could set up a future rematch for the titles, which again, I think that is what's going to happen, because why not book more than one match between these four guys?
Yeah, and the fact that the titles aren't on the line here, if you're going to put Phantasmo and Ishimori over, you may as well just put the titles on the line and give them a defense. But since they're not on the line, it's kind of, I know New Japan actually likes to have like an earn it type thing, but I think in this case, like you could easily just put the titles on the line. But if you're going to have or if you're going to have Eagles and Ospreay win, it makes more sense to give them the victory and then set up the rematch with the belts on the line.
Agreed. Next up, Naito and Sonata versus Jay White and Chase Owens. Naito will be defending his IC title against Jay White on the Destruction Tour, so this is part of the setup for that. They also did some of the setup during the Super J Cup final night. I'm really interested to see how this one works out. I think, obviously, Chase Owens is here to be the workhorse dude, like always, and take the pinfall, which is fine. That's his role. But I am more fascinated to see how they book this overall, because we've kind of talked about at the G1 finals, Sonata was the big confident one leading the LIJ salute, and there's been a lot of speculation about a potential LIJ split in the future, and we kind of talked about that when we reviewed the G1 final. And it would be really interesting to see how that shakes out, and if that is going to be something they lightly tease for the rest of the year, because that's a potentially big angle, especially with Hiromu rumored to be coming back soon. Because if you split everything up, I think the initial split between the group would be Naito, Shingo, and Bushi, and then Evil, Sonata, and Hiromu on the other side.
You've got to do something with Naito right now. He's not like cold or anything, but his spot in the pecking order has certainly been dropped from where it was. I mean, even at Wrestle Kingdom, but certainly at Wrestle Kingdom last year, where everyone thought he was going to get the title. And now he's like, I mean, he's obviously behind Okada. He's behind Ibushi. He might even be behind Jay White. Kenta is even kind of hot right now, and I don't know how long that'll last. But Naito has fallen back a little bit compared to, and I mean, Tanahashi's always going to be up there above everybody outside of Okada. So he's fallen back a little bit. I hope they do some type of LIJ split. I'm with you on this one. Like Sonata maybe picks up the victory over Owens, and that kind of, I don't know how he gets the victory as far as how the final sequence plays out, but they could easily work something where Naito is like, okay, like why did you do that type of thing, and it doesn't have to be as blatant as WWE will sometimes do it, where he steals the pinfall from his partner or anything like that. But with LIJ, you can see the subtle hints of something like that playing out. I figure Naito, it serves as a preview for Naito and White, since they're gonna face in Destruction and Kobe. But overall, should be a good match. The LIJ guys are going to be over. Jay White is going to be booed out of the building, and Chase Owens is going to be there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it doesn't have to be super blatant, but you could do something to where, like, they're having a decent home stretch. Naito hits Destino, and then Sonata hits the moonsault and takes the pin.
Right.
Just something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go. I'm really fascinated because I think the winners are pretty academic here with Naito and Sonata, because, Chase Owens is in the match. No disrespect to Chase. I like him a lot. He works really hard, and he's great in the tag matches. But, I mean, that's what he's here for. But, again, I'm really fascinated with the booking to see if they continue to lightly tease this and how far they're going to go with it.
Chase Owens coming off a match where he was carried by the great Shane Taylor.
That's right. The real best in the world.
That's right.
The Guerrillas of Destiny are going to defend their tag team titles against the winners of a Rev Pro tag tournament. It's either going to be Aussie Open, which is Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, or Shaw Samuels and Josh Bodum. And that is going to be determined Friday, I believe, sometime early Friday. So it'll be obviously determined before the Saturday show, but we're just going to kind of have to guess here. If I had to guess, I think Aussie Open wins, because I think they are the better team, have a better chance of having a good match with the Guerrillas of Destiny, because, we talked a lot, Jeremy. The Guerrillas of Destiny are a lot of times a very flat tag team. They don't do a lot of interesting stuff, but they did have those two great matches with the Briscoes recently, so obviously they can have good matches. So I think you put the best team in there with them, a team that'll be over with the Rev Pro crowd, and give them the best chance for a good match. I see the Guerrillas of Destiny keeping the tag titles. I just don't feel a title change with them yet.
No, not against a Rev Pro team. New Japan has a very good relationship with Rev Pro, but it'd actually be great if they switch the titles, and then you can get a little bit of mileage out of these titles, because if Guerrillas of Destiny win, and I suspect it'll be Aussie Open as well. If Guerrillas of Destiny win, then I don't know who the hell they're going to face, because Sonata actually seems to be moving on to bigger and better things than the tag title division. So who the hell does that leave for Guerrillas of Destiny?
Exactly. I mean, and again, like you said, I would not be opposed to a title change, because you could easily rematch on the Destruction Tour on one of the bigger shows, or you could save it for King of Pro Wrestling in October. I mean, you could easily do something interesting before World Tag League, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just don't feel it.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up is the Never Openweight Championship match. Our man, Big Tom Ishii, facing off with Kenta. I am excited for this because it has banger potential for sure. Ishii is coming off of an excellent MVP run in the G1. Kenta had a really good and strong G1 overall, and is coming off that awesome angle with the turn and joining of Bullet Club, the beatdown of Shibata sitting on his chest. That was just a great fucking angle, man. And I think it's going to be a great match here. Unfortunately, with Kenta just joining Bullet Club and that big angle, he's really hot right now, so that I think that makes Big Tom expendable here. So I see a new champion, Jeremy.
It would make sense because Kenta, you're right, he is super hot after the turn. It would also suck because, I mean, I've talked about the Never Openweight title plenty of times. I wish they would give guys a run with this belt. I wish you would, and Ishii's certainly the guy to do it. I wish you'd have him face like juniors and guys from other companies, and just, you know, like make it almost an open challenge kind of thing, to where he can just have great matches with a variety of opponents, because that's what Ishii should be doing. But Kenta is super hot, so you don't actually want to beat him, it doesn't seem like, off of this turn. And so it seems like he wins, and he wins the title, unless you do some type of DQ finish where, I don't know, Kenta just snaps and beats the shit out of him with a chair, or who knows. They could book around it, but New Japan typically stays away from stuff like that, so that's why it just seems like Kenta will win. And I don't have a problem with Kenta as the champion, but my complaint about this title is always that no one ever defends it, and it almost feels like it shouldn't exist. Like, they need to establish some type of credibility with it. And maybe Kenta brings that credibility. Who knows? But he'll probably end up losing it at King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, but yeah, I am definitely excited for the match, even though I do not want to see Big Tom lose.
They're going to beat the shit out of each other. It's going to be great.
Oh, I know, yeah. And that is like the best part about it. I mean, you know it's going to be just really good stuff. Next up, Jeremy, is your man, the Rev Pro undisputed British heavyweight champion, Zack Sabre Jr., facing off with the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. I go to you first, since you're the huge Zack Sabre Jr. fan.
Can we get Taka back for this match? What are you doing, Taka? We're in Zack Sabre's hometown. We got to bring Taka back so we all know what time it is. So this is an official match. It's not, if Taka's not there, the title should not be on the line. I stand by that. Zack Sabre has not lost in months because none of these matches have been official. Looking forward to this match. Zack Sabre fucking rules. Tanahashi, he's Tanahashi, and he works well with Zack Sabre because, first off, he's just a great seller. Like, he sells everything like it's complete death, and for some of his body parts, it might be complete death. And you know Zack Sabre doesn't give a fuck. He's going to bend the arms and the legs in ways they shouldn't be bent. Tanahashi is going to make it look like the arm or the leg is going to pop off at any moment, and then either Tanahashi makes his comeback, or he'll make some type of comeback, whether it's a comeback leading to a victory or Zack Sabre still ends up making him tap out. I don't know. I suspect Zack Sabre wins this, retains the title here, because Tanahashi, I mean, he probably needs a little bit of time off and stuff. But I'm looking forward to this match because these two have really good chemistry, and they can tell such a basic and easy story, but they're both so believable in their roles that I'm always into their matches.
Yeah, ever since Zack arrived in New Japan, he's had a great on-again, off-again rivalry with Tanahashi. I mean, we all know Zack is a next-level just grappling specialist. Tanahashi has obviously changed his style up a bit due to age and various injuries. But somehow in there, Jeremy, the man has become an even better fucking storyteller. And he was already excellent. And it's like amazing how much better he's even gotten. I definitely expect these two to deliver another great match. They always work so well together. The crowd's going to be into it huge because it's in the UK and it's Zack Sabre time. I'm always excited for their match. This one is no different. I wouldn't rule out a Tanahashi win, but I don't think it's going to happen because I feel like they're telling the longer story with him. He's doubting himself following a disappointing for him G1, and that can kind of play into the match, and I think the submission master ZSJ will retain his championship.
Yeah, the Tanahashi losing would make the most sense here because I'm with you on that kind of longer story of ever since losing to Jay White, Tanahashi has kind of been, he hasn't been, he hasn't quite been the ace, and that's where they're going with this, and I'm sure it'll culminate in some big way at Wrestle Kingdom and maybe even beyond that, but that's seemingly the story that they're telling, and so beating Zack Sabre doesn't exactly feed into that story.
Agreed. And our main event of the evening is the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada versus the King Minoru Suzuki. Okada is coming off of a great G1 overall, 7-2, averaged about four stars a match. But the King is angry because he was excluded from the G1. He came back with a vengeance at the finals. He brutalized Okada, pinned him, demanded that he hand him the championship, which gives us our match here today. They have a really good history of delivering some great matches together, including a few draws where Suzuki more than took him to the limit. Suzuki works a lot of Rev Pro dates, and combined with Okada getting to work in the UK, should make for an absolutely great atmosphere. Suzuki is obviously, he's a badass. He feels fresh and re-energized after not working the G1, and it's been long enough since their last match that this feels really fresh, which I think is needed. I think we have another great match here. I think Suzuki will dominate a good portion of this to create drama in that title change, because the chances of a title change feel like almost zero. So you have to create the illusion that we're going to get one, and I think with Suzuki you can do that, especially in front of this crowd. I'll be interested to see how they play it throughout the match. At the end of the day, though, Suzuki is our challenger of the month. He's a roadblock on the way to Wrestle Kingdom. Okada should retain. I'm really looking forward to it, though. Should be great.
That's my one drawback with this match is I don't see any chance in hell that Okada is losing. So both of these guys are so great that I'm sure I will bite on a near fall or some type of false finish near the end of the match, because Okada is like the master at the 2.9 kick out, and Suzuki's gonna make the submissions look really good, and Okada is gonna sell it like he can't escape. So I'm sure they'll get me hooked, but that certainly is my biggest concern going into it is I know Okada is winning this match. As far as the actual match goes, it should be awesome because Okada rules and Suzuki is the greatest of all time. So I'm looking forward to this match. It's another where these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other, especially Suzuki. He's going to twist Okada all up. He's going to chop him to death and kick him to death and headbutt him to death. And yeah, the crowd, as you said, Suzuki works a lot of Rev Pro dates. Okada is over just about anywhere he goes. So the crowd should be red hot for this match, and that'll certainly help the drama down the stretch as well.
Yeah, so that is Royal Quest, again, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fight TV. It's definitely a New Japan card. They're giving the UK a full-on New Japan card, which is great because that's what that was some of the early criticism with the US shows, that a lot of them didn't feel like New Japan shows. They were like New Japan with some guests, and they didn't really feel like what some of the fans wanted. So I credit them for giving them that card here. And we're going to stay in the UK, Jeremy, because we have NXT UK Takeover Cardiff. And this show looks really good on paper. Before we get into the matches, the big news for me is that Cesaro is going to attend Takeover Cardiff. And this has me fucking excited, because let me tell you, they're doing absolutely nothing with him on the main roster. He's obviously great. He's not getting any younger. So maybe a short sabbatical to the UK brand would be for the best. It gives him fresh matches. It adds star power to NXT UK. It gives them a fresh feeling, and we would get a ton of fresh singles matches. Walter, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, just tons of guys. And of course, you could always do the Kings of Wrestling reunion with Ono. So either way you go with Cesaro over there, the potential of him doing like a 6-month stint or so in NXT UK is super exciting to me. I cannot wait to see what happens with him.
I'm pumped about the Cesaro news. I listened to the Edge and Christian show last week, and Edge was very high on Cesaro moving. He said NXT, with NXT going to USA, but he said that Cesaro could really benefit going there, and NXT could benefit from him. I think NXT UK, it'd be a even better deal for him and somebody like Drew McIntyre, who I don't know what they're doing right now, but it would certainly give this brand a lot more star power and a lot more reason to tune in, because I'm going to be honest with you, Larry, I'm not caught up on NXT UK. I know these guys. I read your reports and stuff, but I couldn't pick most of them out of any type of lineup. So I'm not going to be much use on this preview here, because I don't know a ton about these guys and what they got going on. I tried to binge watch, but it's kind of like, it's a fine show. I don't think the show is bad, but it also just doesn't feel like a whole lot goes on. And I had the same complaint with just the regular NXT, but that's a much simpler show to binge watch, I guess, because I'm just a little bit more invested. And NXT UK is low on my totem pole of shows that I want to go out of my way to watch and everything. Cesaro would certainly get me to tune in more. A guy like McIntyre would get me to tune in more, and just utilizing more of the talent that they have. Like, Pete Dunne is not on this show. It'd be sweet. I saw him tweet at Cesaro, give me Pete Dunne against Cesaro on this show. Scrap Travis Banks and Noam Dar, please. I mean, I'm sure they're both nice guys. I'm sure it'll be a good match. I want Cesaro and Pete Dunne. Use guys like Pete Dunne and Ilya Dragunov. Use these guys, because those are the guys that I'm actually interested in seeing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're not the only one that feels that way about the UK brand. And like you said, it's not a bad show. It is like never a bad show. It's always solid to good. But I will agree that there's not a lot of urgency to tune in week in and week out. And I get that, because there is a lot of stuff to watch, and it's one of those shows that unfortunately kind of falls by the wayside for a lot of people. Yeah, I love the possibility of Cesaro coming in. I think it would be great. Again, you can do tons of singles matches. You can do the tag run with him and Ono. Excuse me. But yeah, a lot of stuff. I wouldn't rule out a Drew McIntyre run eventually, because he said he'd love to work the UK brand. And like I said, they're not doing anything with him on the main brand. They seem to, you hear every couple months there's plans for him, and then you think they're protecting him, and then he just starts losing to everybody again. So they have no clue what they're doing with him. Send him to NXT for a little bit. Send him to NXT UK. Do fucking something with him. He's too talented not to do anything with him.
Agreed. Give me Cesaro. I like your idea at a Kings of Wrestling reunion as well. I even wish Cassius Ohno should be on this card. I wish they'd even kind of do more with him on the brand. These are the guys that I want to see more than. And no offense to Travis Banks or Noam Dar. No offense to Gallus or any of these guys. I watched the show. They're fine. They just haven't built, and I know they have to build an equity, and the only way they're going to do that is to be on the show. But it seems like they've been featured enough, and I've watched enough of these shows where I'm I don't I like Piper Nevin, or Viper. She's going by Nevin in NXT UK. I like her. I like Jazzy Gabbard. I actually like the women's division as a whole. That's more. I wish there was another women's match on this show more than some of these matches we're getting. So I can get invested in these people. Rhea Ripley is another one. I think she's fantastic. I can get invested in these guys. I don't a lot of these guys just aren't doing it for me. And so I'd rather see guys who I know are great and who I have a longer term investment with, who could elevate these guys as well. If you want to get a guy like Travis Banks or over, put him in the ring with Cesaro And then I will probably care a lot more about Travis Banks than him facing Noam Dar.
Yeah, and again, it's a fair point, and I get it, because like I said, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people that feel that way. And again, it's like I spoke about with Impact, like the weekly TV is never bad to me. It's always solid. It's sometimes really good. Their pay-per-views are where they thrive. But again, in 2019, you can't afford to have just okay shows or solid shows. You have to do a little more. And so when you only have an okay show or sometimes just bland shows, like the ROH TV product we talk about, there's just people that there's too much to watch right now. And those are the first shows that kind of go off of people's lists. And unfortunately right now, NXT UK is kind of one of those shows. Again, never bad. It's just sort of there some weeks. And if you're looking for time to spend on other stuff, it's going to get the axe. So, but we'll sit there and we'll talk about the card here, and you can chime in with whatever you feel like chiming in on with what you know. I'll start off. Noam Dar and Travis Banks. Banks was originally set to compete at the first TakeOver. He was injured by Jordan Devlin, which led to Devlin losing to Finn Balor. Banks came back, overcame, even got a championship shot against Walter, which of course he lost because Walter's the big fucking daddy and Travis Banks is not. He looks to get back on track here at his first TakeOver. Dar was in the Cruiserweight Classic, part of 205 Live. He had injury issues. He was in an odd limbo period for a while between 205 Live and NXT UK. He finally came back to the UK brand and started bragging about he did a short babyface run, then started bragging about he had a big contract, became an asshole again, and then said he was guaranteed a spot on TakeOver. Travis Banks earned his way into the match. Both are good. Banks has shown he can step up in bigger matches. They'll have a clear face dynamic here to play off of. Not the sexiest match on paper. I'm sure it'll be good. But I think Banks wins because I have Walter retaining in the main event. And you want to have a couple guys set up to challenge Walter. And you could eventually heat Banks up again and do that rematch down the line.
Where's Jordan Devlin on this show?
He's being relegated for no reason.
Like that's another guy who I'm actually into, and a lot of that is just based off of he was in the ring with Finn Balor, and so he may have lost that match, but he came off like a bigger deal. Like, again, if you want to make Travis Banks, put him in the ring with a Cesaro or a Drew McIntyre. Even if he loses, I will feel more invested in this guy. I don't care about Noam Dar. He got on television because he said Alicia Fox instead of Alicia Fox. And like that's his biggest claim to fame.
Fair enough. Yeah, and the problem with Devlin that pisses me off is like I've watched a good bit of his outside of WWE work, and he's had some absolutely fucking excellent matches. And then like they burned the Walter match already. And it was like it was really good, but it felt like such a non-important match when it could have been so much bigger. And that really pissed me off. It feels like they don't know what to do with him. He's basically in a holding pattern where he's complaining about that he should be the number one contender and he should be getting shots and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's annoying. I wish he was on the card, but he is not.
I guess Travis Banks win. I don't know who's going to win this match. Like,
Travis Banks.
Okay.
Next up are the NXT UK Tag Team Champions, the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Gallus versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. Grizzled Young Vets have been Tag Team Champions since January when they beat the British Strong Style. They've controlled the tag team division. They've claimed to be the locker room leaders and best tag team in the business. Gallus was the kind of big faction in NXT UK for a while. Joe Coffey even got a UK Championship match. But things changed when Walter arrived, won the title, and then Imperium basically took over in that role. So Gallus has just been sort of dudes. They look to remain relevant here as Mark Coffey and Wolfgang challenge for the tag titles. They made the challenge. Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster got involved. They won singles matches. They got into this match. Probably be a really enjoyable match. I like everybody involved for the most part. Gallus a little less than the others. But I think it'll be fun, and I think that I think we will get a tag title change to Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster here. Because I think we need babyface champions right now, because I think later on that Imperium's Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel will win the tag team titles from them and eventually feud with Mustache Mountain. So I'm going title change to Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster with some future booking in mind.
Yeah, where's Barthel and Eichner? Like, those are two more guys that I actually enjoy, and they're not on this card. I'll take your word on how good this match will be and the title change. I feel like it should be a title change as well from what I've seen from Grizzled Young Vets. Like I like their match against Mustache Mountain at the first takeover. Like their title run hasn't really done anything for me. And again, I'm not watching weekly, so I'm not the best judge on this, but I can't say like it seems like they've really lit the world on fire. So sure, Flash Morgan and Mark Andrews wins, and yeah, get the titles on Eichner and Barthel because they're actually good.
Yeah, I'm disappointed they're not on the card as well, but I think that's more of a long-term booking thing. So next up is Mastiff versus Joe Coffey in a last man standing match. They did a build to this one almost identical to the Mastiff Eddie Dennis feud for the first NXT TakeOver, where they brawled a lot and basically were put on an even playing field. I kind of hate that because it feels like they've painted Mastiff as a really one-dimensional character that hasn't changed since January. But the good news is I thought the build has been solid. They can have a good match. They'll have some smoke and mirrors with it being last man standing. They'll hoss around and beat the shit out of each other. I think Mastiff will take the win here because, again, I think you're going to use this card to position some future challengers for Walter, and a Hossy match with Mastiff would probably be pretty fun.
I hate the last man standing stipulation. It's one of my least favorite stipulations, and you can do a good last man standing match. We've seen it a handful of times, but I just don't like it. It gets kind of drawn out, and then you're like, all right, that kept you down, but this didn't. So not a big fan of the stipulation. I'm sure it'll be a fine match.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the stipulation either because, number one, you take out the near falls, and that hurts the drama a lot. And a lot of the times you just get, like, repeated downs and the referee counting. Repeated downs and the referee counting. And that hurts the drama as well. So you have to play to the stipulation like extraordinarily well.
I'd like to see a last man standing match where there isn't a earlier count to get it like a 6 or something. And because the wrestler just knows, all right, he's not going to be down for 10 after this. I got to keep beating the shit out of him a little bit more.
That would be nice. So we'll see. I think it can be good. We'll move on. Next is the UK Women's Championship match. Champion Toni Storm versus Kaylee Ray. I really love both performers a lot. I think they're very good. It's a good match on paper. They have an established history outside of NXT UK to play off of, which they've done a good job via video packages. And they've done some nice work on TV with Kaylee Ray trying to make the feud extra personal. So it should have some really good heat going into it. I have confidence that they can have a very good match. Toni Storm has been champion since January. And I think that we can see a title change here and an eventual feud with Kaylee Ray facing off with another familiar opponent in Piper Niven down the line.
This is a match, the first match that I actually know a little bit about and I'm looking forward to because I am a fan of Toni Storm, and from what I've seen of Kaylee Ray during this feud, I've become a fan of her. I like this feud. It's simple in the whole like personal attack kind of thing, but they are friends. They do have a history. So Kaylee Ray digging at her friend with kind of personal shots certainly is a way to, build a feud and kick off a feud and lead into a match, because it makes Toni Storm hopefully kind of approach the match differently. Instead of, all right, I'm just going to have a good competitive match with my friend. It's almost like a mind games type thing as well. So there's a lot of different directions that they can go with the actual match here. I think it should be a good match. I feel like Toni Storm is going to retain, but Again, you know the brand better than I do. A Kaylee Ray win and setting up a Piper Niven feud, not something I'm against.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Toni Storm retained, but I think we will see a title change. I think we get 2 title changes here because we really haven't had any, and it feels like the time to me, trying to mix things up. Plus, you're bringing Cesaro in, and there's a lot to play with. And our main event is the UK champion Walter versus Tyler Bate. I've really loved the build to this. You had Walter coming in, beating Pete Dunne for the title, Imperium forming, they ran wild on British Strong Style. Walter hospitalized Tyler Bate, and then he destroyed Trent Seven when Trent Seven went for revenge on young Tyler being sent to the hospital. On paper, this looks like an excellent main event. They've worked together in the past and had bangers. They play the rules really well because Walter is an awesome asshole bully that does not care. Bate is a tremendous babyface, tremendous of amazing feats of strength. And basically, without a doubt in my mind, the match of the show, possibly the match of a loaded weekend because, as we already talked about, we have Royal Quest, and we're going to talk about All Out here in a little bit. So that's how much potential I see in this match. I think it could be absolutely tremendous. The story's strong, the performers are great. I think Bate will make a great challenger that fans can get invested in, but I just don't see him winning a title here. I think the Walter run is still in its infancy.
Agreed. I'd be pretty surprised if Walter lost the title here. But as far as match goes, this certainly feels like a bigger match than the first UK takeover with Pete Dunne against Coffey, just because. No offense, was it Joe Coffey?
Yeah.
Or was it Mark Coffey? Okay.
It was Joe.
No offense to Joe Coffey. He didn't feel like the biggest star in the world coming into that match, especially compared to Pete Dunne. But Tyler Bate, former champion, first ever UK champion. Walter, current champion. These are 2 established guys, 2 guys who, yeah, as you said, they got the chemistry with each other from various independent shows. So I think this match should rule. The crowd's going to be really into it. Walter, he's awesome. I love his style, the way he just beats the shit out of people, the way he is, as you said, like a bully. And Bate is certainly a much smaller guy, but he's a smaller guy with a big belief, and that plays into this as well. Big, strong boy. So I think this match, it could steal the weekend. Honestly, there's a lot of good matches this weekend, but Tyler Bate and Walter could certainly do it. And then Cesaro's going to come out and stand face to face with Walter, and they're going to fuck at some point.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Definitely an awesome match. The most funniest thing was on it was on NXT UK last week. They had footage of Walter at the WXW training facility, and it looked like a fucking German snuff film. Because he's sitting there slapping these kids around, and he's like, "Are you Tyler Bate? Do you want to be a big, strong boy?" And he's just like slapping the shit out of these dudes, and like, I was like, "What the fuck?" Almost, but it was hilarious in a good way. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this match. It should be awesome. Yeah, definitely weekend stealing potential, just because both guys are absolutely great. Looking forward to this, and I think with ease this steals the NXT UK show.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else that's gonna top it. I'm sure this card will be very good because even if you're not familiar with these guys, like, wrestling is in such a good place, and the NXT brand is so strong, whether it's US or UK, that it's probably going to be a very good show. But I don't see anything coming close to topping Walter and Tyler Bate. I hope Walter hits the 619 because he gets called Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, that'd be great. So, but yeah, that is the preview for our NXT UK Takeover Cardiff show. 411 will have live coverage Saturday afternoon with me at the helm of that. And next up, Jeremy, another potentially great card, AEW All Out. The return of AEW to pay-per-view. Got a pretty loaded card overall. We'll start with the buy-in stuff. The Women's Casino Royale to crown a number 1 contender for the Women's Championship. We don't know all the competitors at this time. There's rumored competitors. There's a couple confirmed. We're going to have like Jazz, Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, Allie, Brandy Rhodes, Yuka Sakazaki, Teal Piper, which is Roddy Piper's daughter, Big Swole, which is Ariel Monroe, Cedric Alexander's wife, and Sadie Gibbs from the UK. Those are pretty much like the names we know. Probably be some surprises. We may get Awesome and Aja Kong in there, and some of the other women that have been around, like Bea Priestley and stuff like that. So, but as of this recording, not everybody has been confirmed. The Casino Royale, if you guys don't know the gimmick here, it's 21 wrestlers. It's a kind of a Royal Rumble gauntlet style matches. It begins with 5 wrestlers in the ring. Every 3 minutes, a new wave of 5 join the match. The lucky 21st wrestler gets the final solo entrance. Eliminations are over the top rope. Both feet hit the floor. Winner is the top contender for the AEW Women's Championship. It's what they did to get Adam Page the number 1 contendership, and hopefully they handle this contender better than they handled Adam Page.
I would assume that Britt Baker wins this thing. They've been pushing her really hard, and for good reason. I don't know, because we don't know all the competitors, it feels tough, but from this list that we do have, Baker seems like the most logical choice, and maybe that's why they go in a different direction, but I would think she's going to win. I expect like a halfway decent surprise or two. I think like maybe a Victoria could be in this thing. I don't know what Molly Holly's doing, but maybe she could pop up in this thing. I do think we're going to see some type of surprise like that. What's a ECW female wrestler who could pop in here? I guess they got Jazz, but I don't know. Dawn Marie's not probably doing anything. Sunny, she out of jail? She can show up.
Who the hell knows?
I think Britt Baker's gonna win since it's for a title shot.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think Britt's a good pick. It just depends on who they get in there and who is signed and everything and who they want to go with and who they're planning for them to face. But Britt is definitely a good pick. They definitely have a lot going behind her. I wouldn't rule out a shitty heel win for like Brandy Rhodes, though, unfortunately.
God, no.
I don't want to see it, but I wouldn't rule it out, dude.
I don't think you could do this with Brandy Rhodes, and this has nothing to do with her wrestling ability, which it's not the best compared to the other people in this match. Yeah, I was trying to be nice. And it has nothing to do with her promo ability, which I think is actually very good. It just has to do with the optics of the company. And, I mean, you've got... Like, Omega's in top spots, the Cody's in top spots. Like, the 4 executive vice presidents are in these top spots. And then if Brandy is going into that first show as a title challenger, it's like, all right, you're booking all your people here to just take over. And I get these are, especially the 4 executive vice presidents, like those are the 4 biggest stars outside of Jericho and Moxley. So on some level, it does make sense that they should occupy these top spots. Brandy, I don't think is that star, and she certainly isn't the person to carry this women's division as a wrestler. I think if they do that, it almost has Baron Corbin like go away heat potential, and I feel like this company is smart enough to realize that.
I would hope so, but I mean, we will find out. Continuing on with the buy-in, we have Private Party versus Jack Evans and Angelico. I think this is a great addition to the show, even though it's like a pre-show match. Both teams have been impressive so far in AEW, but neither of them have found their way into the win column just yet. Private Party showed a ton of potential in their first AEW match. Jack Evans and Angelico are really great. They have the experience advantage. This is one of those matches, Jeremy, for me, that you don't fucking overthink it. 12 to 15 minute high-octane sprint-style match. For lack of a better term, let them get their fucking shit in.
Agreed. I don't want them to overdo it with the near fall stuff on the pre-show. That was my complaint with Evans and Angelico and their match against Best Friends at Double or Nothing. Like there was just a lot of that near fall stuff where, all right, it's a good mid card match. I didn't need them like burning through these finishes that they didn't need to burn through, and I don't want that here. I'm fine with a spot fest. Both of these guys both of these teams are very good at those types of matches. I don't need any type of great tag team psychology here. Give me the spot fest. I will be happy. Just don't be kicking out of fucking assisted burning hammers and stuff, and I'll be okay. I feel like Private Party will win because they have the matchup against the Young Bucks. It would feel kind of dumb to have them lose here and then have anybody believe that they can beat the Young Bucks on that first show, especially if we're supposed to, or the second show, we're supposed to believe that wins and losses are really supposed to matter. Technically, if Private Party loses here, they shouldn't even be facing the Young Bucks unless it's, I guess, a 1 seed against an 8 seed. So I feel like they have to win here just to make them come off credible for that Young Bucks match.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I can see it go either way, but it does make more sense for them to win here. So moving on to the main card, we have SCU, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky battling the Luchasaurus, the Jungle Boy, and Little Marco Stunt. I think it's a good addition to the card because SCU are a great veteran team. They're over, they can work with anybody, and they can still have high caliber matches. I love the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. They are a fun pairing. I'm not totally sold on adding Marco Stunt to the group because I kind of like Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy by themselves. Marco Stunt can do some fun little things. I find him hit and miss as an overall performer, but he's in there. It'll be kind of fun to watch like Frankie Kazarian play like monster heel against him though, because like he never gets to do that against anybody. So I hope like Frankie Kazarian like fucking choke slams him like 8 times. That'd be great. The Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt, no wins for them so far. SCU has found wins in AEW, so I think it could be a good and fun match. I think the underdogs might take this one with the Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt winning, Jeremy.
This is a strong kickoff match because everyone is into the SCU act. So they come out there, they say it's the worst town they've ever been in. The crowd cheers along. And then they like the Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt trio. So guys can hit their spots and stuff, and it'll probably be a good match. I knew Marco Stunt was tiny. You watch him on Being the Elite this week, and then you got the cameo with Morrison and Taya there. And he is like small compared to Taya Valkyrie. And I'm like, oh my God, this man really is super tiny. And this is another, I think he's fun. He's fun to watch. I have no issues with that. It's just when you see him next to other people who you think are really tiny, you realize just how small this guy is. And I'm sure next to Luchasaurus, we've seen it before, and we'll see it again here. But, and this guy is just so small. I think they'll win it as well, even though I feel like SCU should probably win. And Marco Stunt should maybe take the pinfall because you almost want to protect Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy since they seem to be like they're going to be a regular team. And Marco Stunt's just kind of be all right, he gets into a trios match every now and again, but he's just kind of more their little, the pet of the pets, I guess.
I would be fine with SCU winning if it meant that Luchasaurus ate Marco Stunt after the match. Just because, like, that'd be great.
That'd be fine. Yeah, that'd be a cool angle.
I love that, like, on Being the Elite, that, like, the Luchasaurus, because, like, dude is a smart guy in real life, but he speaks like a fucking college professor. He's all eloquent and shit while he's wearing this mask and carrying Jungle Boy on his shoulders and stuff.
They've got a good little thing going. Like, I like the pairing of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Marco Stunt, I'm with you. He doesn't detract from the group, but I also don't think he really adds much to it either. And so that sort of just puts him in a weird position. So I don't know. Marco Stunt, I don't have an issue with the guy. I'm not Cornette ranting and raving. The guy's too small and it's not believable. I think he's fun for what he does. I just don't see he just kind of is who he is, and I don't know if he can ever kind of break past that level, even though I think it'd be kind of cool if he did. But his size is certainly going to be a detractor in a lot of ways moving forward.
Yeah, again, I want to see like 8 Frankie Kazarian choke slams.
That'd be cool. That's a thing you can do with Marco Stunt too. Is you can have a guy like Scorpio Sky or Frankie Kazarian or Christopher Daniels, where they're not big guys themselves, but Marco Stunt's in there, and so they look like giants, so they can wrestle kind of more a giant style, and it's that is a benefit of Marco Stunt.
Agreed. Moving on, I'll get some ladies action here, Jeremy. Hikaru Shida versus Riho. I think we can agree that overall the booking of the AEW women's division has not been perfect. Like the handling of Allie so far and some of the Brandy Rhodes stuff. But I do like a lot of the talent they have involved. We talked about Britt Baker earlier and some of the others. And I do love the Joshi element that they're bringing into, because, like there's a lot of people like in WWE that they like Asuka and Kairi Sane and stuff like that, but they're also frustrated that they never get to see them do anything good. So if you're a fan of Japanese women wrestlers and you see this match, this might be something for you. So that's kind of why I love this match. I really like both performers. You have Shida's making her return after Double or Nothing. She actually teamed with Riho and at that event and stuff, and then Riho stuck around, picked up a win in the triple threat, then lost in a tag. So I think the winner here, you can make an argument, will be in play for an eventual title shot, possibly even on that first show. So I think it's a toss-up. And with that being the case, I don't really know who to pick, but I will go with my heart and pick my future ex-wife and go with Hikaru Shida.
My biggest complaint with the AEW women's division booking is that they're just like in matches. There's no real story or meat to these matches. Like, you've got Riho and Shida in this match, and as you mentioned, Shida was there for the trios match on the first show and then hasn't been seen. Riho's been around and she's got some wins, she's got a loss, but why is this a singles match? Why, like, what is the point of this being a singles match? There's no real reason to it. There's no real story or heat behind it. And the same thing with the Battle Royal. It's a way to get a lot of people on the show, and that's fine, and then put them into a number one contender spot. It's been reported that this is a number one contenders match as well, so it certainly would make sense that the winner of this match meets the winner of the Battle Royal to crown the first champion. But that's been my issue with the women's division, is that they've just been matches. Britt Baker gets put into a tag match after winning the Fatal 4-Way match, which is supposed to be a big win, and then she loses the tag match, and then you've got people who you only see once, and there's just no real meat behind these matches or story behind these matches, and so it's tough to get into. As far as the match goes, it'll probably be good. They'll probably get some time, and I think Riho will win.
Fair enough, and you're definitely right. It goes back to the whole, the women's division has been far from perfect. Again, we have some good performers, we have some good bones there, but it doesn't feel like they've invested into, like you said, the storytelling or reasons. Tell us exactly why, make sure it's clear why they're facing, and give us a little more reason to care. I mean, sometimes a good match on a show is sometimes just a good match on a show. But again, you're trying to attract a new fan base, and some people need story. They need a reason.
Right, so, and you can do the whole good match thing with like undercard stuff and like Private Party and Helco and Jack Evans. Like, there's no story behind why these guys are wrestling outside of neither of them have a win, and so someone is trying to get off the schneid there. But we're talking about an entire division that doesn't really have any story behind it right now.
Agreed. Next up, Jeremy, and I will go to you first. Joey Janela versus Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin.
The Cracker Barrel Clash. I can't say it without laughing. It's I get that they gotta have a sponsor, and it's cool, I hope we get the peg game. If someone's not stabbing someone with the pegs, then what's the point of this being the Cracker Barrel Clash? It's a stupid name for this match. As far as the match goes, I'm looking forward to it. I imagine it'll be changed to some like no DQ, falls count anywhere, no holds barred, unsanctioned nonsense. I mean, maybe that's why it's Cracker Barrel Clash. It's, rules are relaxed because you can fight at the Cracker Barrel. Who cares? They're going to beat the hell out of each other. They're going to do some dumb shit all for our entertainment, and I will be entertained.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like the women's thing, though. It's like I really wish there was a good reason and explanation for it. Like, is this going to turn into like a wild hardcore brawl? Is it just a triple threat? Why exactly are they facing? Is somebody going to get something out of it? And I don't think it's going to be a bad thing as long as it's good. But again, you're not going to get everybody to care about it, especially like there are a lot of people that don't like Joey Janela. He's a mud wrestler, he's a mud show wrestler. And Jimmy Havoc's a trashy hardcore guy, and Darby Allin does stupid shit, is what you'll hear from a lot of people. So you need to give them a reason to care. But again, maybe they will win people over by having a really good match here.
The reason they care is Janela got drunk at a Blink-182 concert off too many White Claws, and then he got into a fight with Havoc and Allin. I mean, they did try to tell a story with this. They were a team at the last show. They lost, and then they all blamed each other because, I don't know, reasons. They were a weird team to begin with. They should have. That was another one of those things where they were just kind of thrown together to set something up, and it wasn't the greatest explanation in the world, but they made something out of it, and they had fun with the Enzo Blink-182 thing. So at least there was that. There's more story behind this match than the women's division, and hey, I'm fine with these guys killing each other for our entertainment. I don't mind Janela's style. I'm not a big deathmatch fan. I could live without the light tubes and all that stuff, but Janela, at least in AEW and even in some GCW stuff, doesn't go too far. And Havoc and Allin, like they kind of do the same thing. Allin doesn't really go that far either. He just kind of takes really stupid bumps, and Havoc can go that far, but I don't think you're going to be seeing light tubes in AEW.
No, but you may see Jimmy Havoc being cut up with a fucking pizza slicer like he was in MLW.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to quite do that as well. So again, the deathmatch stuff, not really my style. I like certain guys. Like, I think Nick Gage is pretty awesome, but I can't sit through an entire show. But this is just one match, and I don't think it's going to be super GCW type deathmatch stuff. So I think it'll be fine. It should be a good match.
Who wins, Jeremy?
Janela wins, even though I think I think Havoc takes the pinfall. I think they really see something in Janela, and yeah, he's polarizing to a lot of people, but he's also super popular to a lot of people. Like, you can't run your own event WrestleMania weekend with the kind of success that he's had unless you have something, and Janela certainly has something. And I don't like. You can beat Darby Allin, but you established him with that 20-minute draw against Cody, and you want to keep that equity up. Like, you don't just want to beat this guy now because you've got something going with him. And I know he lost to Shawn Spears in the 6-man tag, and so, but then that helped build the Cody feud. I hope that wasn't the whole point of that Allin and Cody draw, was to put the Cody and Shawn Spears feud over. I hope it actually means something for Darby Allin.
I agree, and I also think Joey Janela wins here, and pinning Jimmy Havoc makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, agreed.
Up next, we have tag team action for a first-round bye in the AEW Tag Team Title Tournament. The Best Friends versus the Dark Order. The feud goes all the way back to Double or Nothing, when after the Best Friends won their match, the Dark Order made their mysterious debut, set their sights on the good-natured hugging friends. Dark Order, formerly known as the Super Smash Brothers. They're an excellent tag team, but were off the board in the U.S. due to border issues and visa stuff. The Young Bucks love them so much that they had them brought into ROH to work with them in Toronto in the past, so signing them wasn't a surprise. They're great, but the Dark Order gimmick doesn't feel like it's really gotten over. Hopefully that changes here because they're really talented. The best friends have worked everywhere. They're a really fun babyface tag team. So they should play well off of the Dark Order. They both won matches to get to this match. And I think that it makes the most sense for the heels to win because I always think that the heels winning and receiving a bye in a tournament like this kind of gives, and in a good way, the false illusion that they're getting a unfair advantage in the tournament. How dare the heels don't have to wrestle an extra match? So I can see them winning here. I think that makes sense. Best friends kind of stay underdogs. And then you could always build to a rematch later, possibly for the titles, depending on who wins the tournament. Should be a really good match. I don't know how over the match will be because reaction to the Dark Order hasn't exactly been great at the live events. But match quality-wise should be really good.
Match should be good. Both these teams are good. This is where you can't they'll probably go crazy in this with the near falls since the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks tag team match is a ladder match, so you don't have the near fall element in that. So you can't burn out those near falls in the tag team match with the pre-show match. And that's my concern is that both of those matches are going to feel almost similar in that they're going to do a bunch of stuff. There's just going to be a bunch of kickouts, and then someone's going to finally win. But it should be a good match because best friends, they're not my favorites, but I recognize that they're good wrestlers. And Dark Order, I don't mind their gimmick. I like that they at least have some type of wacky gimmick, and I like the whole their pawns and their clapping and appear and disappear like clap on clap off lights. I think it's fine. I think they're good wrestlers. So Dark Order will probably win. They'll get the bye in the tournament, and cool, good for them. They received a bye by winning 2 matches.
Exactly. So, next up, I will go to you first. We go to the Cody versus Shawn Spears match.
Oh man. Not a big Shawn Spears fan. He's done good work in this feud. I will say that, but it just, I don't know, something about him. Cody, I think he's another guy done good work in this feud. Something about them, their style is very almost, and Cody broke out of that a very good bit with Dustin, but that was a match where you could easily break out of that just with the story behind it, and they were able to do some blood and even a little bit of smoke and mirrors in that match that I don't know is going to be there in this Shawn Spears match, but it could be. They might have to break out the blood in this one, and then it might become a thing of, okay, we don't need blood in every single Cody match just because he has blonde hair and wants to do a Dusty Rhodes Ric Flair tribute there. The match could be good. It could also not be all that good. The feud has been strong. I've enjoyed the promo work from both guys. Tully Blanchard is going to be in Spears' corner. I would assume Arn Anderson is going to be in Cody's corner. Maybe Arn turns on Cody because Arn aligning himself with the Rhodes doesn't exactly make the most sense in the world. This one's a toss-up as far as if the match is going to be good. I figure Cody, unless Arn turns on him and they really want to establish Shawn Spears, but match quality, kind of a toss-up because both guys are just, for the most part, are just kind of average guys who can have good matches against in the right setting, and I don't know if against each other is the right setting.
I think that is a fair assessment. A lot of people may not know, but the story between these guys actually goes back pretty far into WWE developmental when they were in OVW. Cody has credited Shawn Spears for years for helping him when he was super green to not only improve and get over, but to actually make it into the company. So in no way was Shawn Spears to AEW a shock when news broke that he wanted out of WWE. He wasn't being used, thought that he was capable more, and while he's not a dinosaur by any means, he knew that if he wanted a chance for more, he had to move on because he's 38. Cody, I think, felt a debt of gratitude, brought him in, And the feud basically started because Cody basically insulted him in an interview by, calling him a solid hand. And that led to the Spears turn and chair shot after the draw with Darby Allin. It sets up the blood feud here. And it also brought the return of Tully Blanchard Enterprises, with Tully Blanchard mentoring Spears and him playing the role of James J. Dillon, which I think is really cool, actually. As you said, they've done some really nice stuff on the Road 2 shows. I've largely enjoyed Cody's AEW run so far. I appreciate his focus on storytelling, and this will be a heavy storytelling match, and he's largely left the circus at home, which he did not in ROH, which was a big problem with me. Because all the matches felt the same and felt like they broke down into stuff. And when you're in there having matches with Hiromu Takahashi and you don't even go 10 minutes and break out the circus and it feels flat, I mean, that's a problem to me. So I think it's safe to say this is the biggest match of Shawn Spears' career. It's the most important. It's his chance to step up, deliver on a big stage, and I think more importantly than anything, to show that he can be more than just the 10 guy. Because that's what he is to most people. He's the 10 guy from NXT that didn't make it on the main roster and married Peyton Royce, which that's his best accomplishment.
I mean, he could win the AEW World title, and marrying Peyton Royce is still his best accomplishment.
So I'm fascinated to see if he can step up here and if he can really deliver, because if that's the case, I mean, that's obviously a great thing because he has tons of experience. He'll be great to work with younger guys. He's shown that he's a good heel so far, but we just don't know if he's going to deliver in the ring. Theoretically, I think a win here, depending on how it shakes out, can make him one of the top heels in the company, but will it work? I don't know because I don't know what kind of performance we're going to get from him. I think he wins here. I hope for the best. Kind of like you, I'm unsure overall of match quality-wise. It's going to be a heavy storytelling match, which is not bad by any means. But can Shawn Spears step up and show that he has go in his game still? That he can be a player. And that's the big thing here.
I guess my biggest issue with Shawn Spears is they are presenting him as a top heel, and that's fine, but it very much feels like, and this isn't totally a knock on AEW as much as it's just a knock on history. It just feels like, all right, a WWE mid-carder who we plucked, and not even a mid-carder, a WWE low guy, job guy who we plucked, and now we're going to show why he's great and just boost him right to the main event without any real progression of why he got there. It just feels like he's a WWE guy, and now he's in our main event, and it doesn't feel like a big deal. Where, Ambrose was a big deal in WWE, so him going right into the main event felt like a big deal. Shawn Spears, Ty Dillinger was never that guy, and there was no progression of going from bottom of the totem pole to a big-time match on this show, and so it almost just comes off a little second-rate-ish, and maybe he steps up, and if he does, great, good on him. I thought the 10 gimmick was cool. It was a very cult gimmick, but that is unfortunately what a lot of people identify him as, and again, I think he's done great work on this feud. I love the Road 2 shows. And even some of the Being in the Elite, when they cut serious promos and don't do the comedy stuff, which is mainly on the Being the Elite shows, and some of that stuff is still good, but there's serious promo stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about this Omega promo, but the Cody promos have been great. The Brandy promo in this feud was really good. The Shawn Spears promos have been really good. The backstory is there to that. I guess my biggest complaint really is that he's a WWE guy that didn't have any success, and now he's presented as a top heel in AEW because he hit Cody with a chair, and it just doesn't feel like there's a real progression there of him going up the card, and it just comes off as not as good because, hey, here's it feels almost Impact-ish. Here's a mid-card WWE guy, now he's our world champion.
To be fair, I think you should label it more TNA-ish because Impact really hasn't done that so much. That was a TNA staple back in the day.
Yeah, I was actually saying, like, I know the name is now Impact and it's no longer TNA, so I'm gonna piss off the fan base regardless. Either I call it TNA and they're like, well, it's Impact Wrestling now, or I call it Impact and it's those are the TNA days. So
I slip every once in a while too, because like TNA was around for so long and I covered it for so long that it's just habit. So I understand.
Look, when I'm doing SEO work, I still put TNA Impact. I know people still Google that shit. No one actually knows what it's called nowadays.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I definitely get your points about Spears, and I think they're completely justified. I'm curious to see if they can make it work, and I'm curious to see if he can step up, because, I mean, if he steps up and delivers, I mean, it's fine, but, like, if he just goes out there and he's just, like, the 10 guy being mean and just having, like, a really bland match, I mean, that's just no fucking good.
Yeah, and I'm with you on Cody, his AEW work. The Dustin match was obviously great. The Darby Allin match was very good. The Young Bucks tag team match, that went a little too long for me. But for the most part, he hasn't been like ROH Cody and that Cody, or even New Japan Cody, where unless he was wrestling Omega, Okada, or Ibushi, like even that Cody wasn't very good. So I'm glad that he's taken a different approach with AEW, and this match might be largely on him to kind of make his opponent look really good. It's a big match for both of them, honestly. We'll see what Spears has, and we'll see if Cody can have a really strong match where he's not working with a super worker, or even though or somebody like Darby Allin who's going to bump around and completely kill himself in the name of entertainment, or a real true backstory with the Dustin and the Blood Brothers type thing, even though this is a blood feud. And I think with Tully being there and with whoever Cody has, there will be even those smoke and mirrors there with those guys getting involved.
So if you had to guess, Cody doing the blade job here?
I think so. Honestly, I really do.
Yep.
And I hope he does not make this a habit.
Yeah, he's definitely been willing to gig in the past, so I think that will happen here. So we will move on. Again, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I know a lot of people want to, I mean, and you're not, I don't mean you, but I know there are a lot of people that just want to shit all over the match right away. And I think they have a good backstory. I think Cody tells a good story when he's in that mode. But it's all going to be on if Shawn Spears can step up, you know? And that's what I'm curious to see. That's kind of what fascinates me about it. So we will move. It'll
be an average match at worst. Like even if it's not a good match, they'll still turn in like an average performance.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Spears, he needs much more than that.
Yeah, he does.
So we will move on to tag team actions. Escalera de la Muerte, the Ladder of Death match. AAA tag team champions, the Lucha Brothers, defending against the Young Bucks. Jeremy, I go to you first.
I mean, the big question is Phoenix's leg. If he's healthy and can do some crazy stuff, then this match will be a very great ladder match, because the Young Bucks this is designed for them, and the Lucha Brothers will certainly hold up their end of the bargain. Will it be the most psychologically sound ladder match? No, of course not. But they will do some crazy shit. The crowd will be into it, and that'll be that. If Phoenix's leg isn't what it needs to be, that complicates things a little bit. But the other three will still do the crazy shit. So it'll be very entertaining. I will say that much. And then I hope to never see these two teams face each other for at least the next 6-7 months, because I'm as good as these matches are, much like Cole and Gargano, it's just time to move on from it.
Yeah, I do agree with that point. I mean, I think the matches are absolutely great, because they had a excellent match at All Out. They had a great rematch in AAA. Then they had the great trios match with Omega and Laredo Kid at Fyter Fest. Obviously, the matches are great, but like you said, I don't need to see it every month. I mean, I love great matches, but I don't want to see the same thing all the time, especially with such a loaded tag team division. The Young Bucks absolutely thrive in ladder matches. You look at their history in ROH in those matches. The Lucha Brothers, for me, never disappoint. And I think even if Phoenix is a little banged up, he's still going to have enough go in his game to do some wild shit. And I think that this is going to be probably, I think if I had to guess, this would be the match of the show. I think we're still going to get something rather spectacular. And I think the Lucha Bros pick up the win here and give the Young Bucks their first official AEW loss.
I mean, is it a loss? Like they're not getting pinned. Like, sure, it's a loss, but I'm interested to see how the records play a factor, because this is supposed to be a thing. They said battle royals don't count, but do multi-man matches count? Do ladder matches count? Even though no one's taken a pinfall, so yeah, it'll probably be the Bucks' first official loss, but they're not taking a pin or getting submitted, so it won't look too bad. And I mean, they're still the Young Bucks, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, Paige Mookie Ghana, we need to know about this shit.
Mookie won't give up anything. I DM'd him and was like, give me some scoops on the analytics, and he's like, I can't tell you anything. I was like, come on, man.
He's killing me.
I know. I got reports to write and stupid wacky columns to write on what kind of analytics there should be. Look, if we don't get super kick counting in analytics, then what's the point?
Exactly. Moving on, we were going to have Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, but that is now canceled because Mox picked up a staph infection. The most interesting thing about this story to me, Jeremy, has been the fucking vitriol and negative reaction on Moxley about this.
I've not seen this. You tweeted this, and I think the Voices of Wrestling guys said this as well. Like, our timelines must be way different because I've seen none of this.
Unfortunately, I have to moderate the 411 comment section.
Oh, yeah.
And there are people that are like, well, that's what the dumbass gets for going to Japan for a month and working the G1 before this pay-per-view. Yeah. He deserved the fucking staph infection. Here's a clue to you assholes that are saying shit like that. First of all, when this dude was out for the better part of a year due to his fucking arm injury, he almost lost his fucking arm due to a staph infection. So this is a serious fucking thing for him. This is a scary situation. And if you don't know, once you get like a MRSA staph infection, your body is more prone to getting them. And I'm not playing amateur fucking doctor. I know from personal experience. So
have you tried a Z-Pack, Larry?
Yeah, I know. Get him a Z-Pack, right? But it's just like, I've seen a bunch of bullshit like that. It's like, yeah, the guy got out of WWE. He was signing deals. He made a deal with New Japan. It was a dream to work the G1. He wanted to do it. He signed with AEW. Shit fucking happens, okay? It's wrestling. It's not ballet. We've heard it how many goddamn times? This shit happens. And then the bullshit about, oh, New Japan must have dirty fucking rings and blah. Oh, fuck off. This shit happens, unfortunately. It's a horrible situation. I hate that he has to deal with it. Because it has to be absolutely fucking terrifying to go through this shit again. And trust me, I speak from personal experience. Because, let me see, 7 years ago, I almost lost my fucking right eye. Because I developed a MRSA infection in it. It was about 3 weeks before my fucking daughter was born, my youngest one. So that scared the shit out of me. So this is not like fucking fun and games and bullshit. So if you're like taking great pleasure that Jon Moxley has a massive fucking MRSA infection and is off the show, in all honesty, go fuck yourself.
You wore an eye patch, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to for a long time. I've had light sensitivity for like 5 months, man.
All right. I was like, had I seen you 7 years ago? Damn, we've known each other for a while.
Known each other for a long time, dude.
Yeah. I was just that reminded me of that. Yeah, anybody wishing like this is a good thing or saying this is a good thing or laughing about this, just knock it off. Like have a heart, have a soul, have an understanding that this stuff happens. It completely sucks. It really sucks. I anyone who listened to the G1 reviews knows how much of a fan of Moxley I've become since he's been John Moxley, and I was already a fan of Dean Ambrose, but he's taken himself to another level as John Moxley, and I think it's terrible for him, and I hope that he comes back as quick as he can. I know he wants to come back as quick as he can. It's not a thing that should be rushed either, though. You've got to think long-term health here, and hopefully I think they'll be smart about that, and because they've seen what happens when you rush guys back from stuff, and I don't think they want any type of that kind of backlash. So I hope Moxley is able to heal up, get back as fast as he can. You know, people are saying 4 to 6 weeks. If it takes longer, it takes longer. I'm pissed he's going to miss the Bloodsport match against Josh Barnett. I was looking forward to them two guys just killing each other, and I was looking forward to this match. It was good, but they've kind of turned it into a hotter angle. That Kenny Omega promo ruled. And, you know, Omega made the same point as a lot of those idiots, but the difference is Omega's working an angle and those idiots are just idiots. But the Omega promo fucking ruled. It's going to make this match so much bigger when it does happen, because there is more story to it than just, all right, John Moxley attacks Kenny Omega at the end of the show, and now they're going to have a wrestling match because it's John Moxley against Kenny Omega. Like, now there's some real meat to this story, and I'm looking forward to it even more. Don't criticize John Moxley for getting injured. It happens, and just wish him well. Wish him a speedy recovery. Don't laugh at the guy.
Yeah, I really hate people that take, like, joy in people getting hurt and stuff. Like, listen, man, I don't like Baron Corbin, but if he comes on Raw next week and fucking breaks his leg, I'm not going to fucking celebrate that shit. That's horrible. These are fucking people's lives and careers and shit, and they're trying to make money, man. I mean, that's just horrible. But you spoke about the Kenny Omega promo on being the beginning of being the elite. If you're not a big being the elite fan, I know a lot of people don't like it, watch the latest one, like the first 3 to 4 minutes. It's the Kenny Omega promo. And it is really excellent. It's a much different feel than a backstage promo or even a basic sit-down interview because of how they shot it and how they edited it. Really good stuff. And like Jeremy said, I think adds a lot to the feud. It's Omega basically. He mocks Moxley for going to Japan, and you know, you had a big dream of going to Japan and you wanted to wrestle the same tournament I did, and what happened? He's like, you failed. He's like, you failed at the tournament I won, and then you came back with a boo-boo because it was too tough for you. And it was just like, it's a lot of good stuff. It's really great. But losing Moxley here is obviously a disappointment for various reasons. It was one of the most anticipated matches on the show. They had a solid to good angle going into it, but now they can build for a bigger match down the line, and depending on how you want to do it, you can obviously do a huge TV match, but preferably you save it for the next pay-per-view. And sometimes when Plan A falls through, you go to Plan B, Jeremy, but sometimes Plan B is actually the original Plan A. Yeah,
they were... I mean, I don't think it's a secret by now. Omega was supposed to beat Jericho at Double or Nothing, and Pac was supposed to beat Hangman Page, and they were supposed to set up this world title match for this show, and now we're gonna get that match anyway.
That's right. So I mean, you know, it sucks that we lost the Moxley match, but Omega versus Pac is a hell of a match on paper. Again, it was kind of the original plan. It's a hell of a consolation prize in this case. It'll be Pac's AEW debut, and he's been really good since his WWE exit. I've enjoyed a lot of his stuff, some of the UK stuff, the Dragon Gate stuff, and he's looked really good. And obviously, we know that Kenny Omega can and usually does deliver in big matches. I think both guys will be extra motivated to deliver here because number one, it's Pac's debut. Number two, Omega's match with Jericho was far from bad, but a bit underwhelming. And three, I think they're going to want to make up for the lack of Moxley. So there's like extra motivation here. And then now for me, it comes down to like, who wins? Because Pac's making his debut, and if he's going to come in and be a regular and be a big deal, you kind of don't want to beat him right away. But if you're going to build to Omega versus Moxley, you don't want Omega taking another loss. And so we know that the draw has already been established as a viable finish in AEW. I think it could come into play here, and I think that they're going to heavily tease the draw, and we may actually get the draw, Jeremy.
I think real quickly on Pac being the replacement, and I tweeted it out when the news happened, is I think this match will be better than Omega and Moxley. I'm actually looking forward to like the pairing of these two more than Moxley and Omega, because stylistically they are right on par with each other and can do some cool athletic stuff that Moxley isn't the greatest at, and, you know, flip out of stuff. And I think that stylistically they match up better than Omega and Moxley. But as far as character work goes, I cared more about Moxley than I care about Pac and Omega from just a singles perspective or a match perspective. So I think the match will actually be better than what we would have seen from Omega and Moxley, and I think that match was going to be really good anyway. I agree with you. It feels like it's a draw or Omega wins. As much as Pac, you don't want to beat him on his first night in there. You gotta keep Omega strong for that Moxley match. You gotta, if wins and losses are gonna matter, you know, he's gonna be 1-2, failing in with his win being against Shima, but failing against Jericho and Pac in, you know, main event, co-main event situation. So for the best wrestler in the world, the best bout machine, like, all right, if you're losing these matches and wins and losses are supposed to be matter, cool, you're having 5-star matches, but you also kind of like need to win. So that's it's not a danger with establishing wins and losses, but it also makes the losses feel bigger than maybe they should. Like, losses should be a big deal, but you can still get over in a loss, where with AEW, you can still kind of get over with a loss, but if you lose too many, then you just kind of look like a loser because your record is going to read like 2-6.
Yeah, I agree. And I also agree with your point that I think stylistically it probably ends up a better match, but obviously will not have the storyline attachment to it that the Moxley match had. So,
real quickly before we go to the main event, what did you make on Being the Elite? You know, they did the bid with Cody and the Young Bucks of, all right, who's going to be the replacement? And Cody does the Young Bucks suggests, well, what about a triple threat? And Cody's like, no, that's a WWE thing. Like it? Hate it? What'd you think of that?
I don't like it myself. I don't think you need to do that bullshit.
I'm with you, but then I thought about it. It's like I don't need it.
Like on being real quick on Being the Elite, it's fine. I don't want it on the TV show.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think on Being the Elite, it's certainly fine. It's playing to their fan base. Like, their fan base, at least a large portion of it, feels like it's a fuck WWE fan base. And so if they're going to take these shots at WWE, then that's what the fan base wants. Now, will that stunt their growth? It certainly has the potential to, because if you're a fan of both, like we are, then we don't want to hear about the other company on those shows. And, you know, other people might just be completely turned off. We won't be turned off because we do this for a living, but people who don't do this for a living might be turned off by it. I'm like, all right, you know, maybe AEW has a good product, but they're taking too many shots at WWE, so I'm just going to watch WWE. Yeah, Being the Elite was fine. It's a one-line thing. I get it. I agreed with them that would have been a WWE thing, but they still gotta mind their P's and Q's on that, and I get they're catering to their hardcore fan base, but still gotta not overdo it that much.
Yeah, I think if you want to do your jabs like that, you keep it on Being the Elite, because like you said, that does play to their fan base. Like I said, I just don't want it to be overtaken on the damn show, because I don't want it to feel like WCW. I don't want it to feel like TNA back in the day. We talked about this when we talked about the upcoming Wednesday War, Jeremy, that we don't want that like the worst parts of it. We don't want somebody debuting in AEW and cutting the back in New York promo or back when I was up north promo and all that shit. I mean, I don't need all that shit. And, there are people that are going to argue that was my favorite part of the Monday Night War. And I loved when ECW took shots at the companies. It's like, well, that's fine that you liked it. I just don't think it's needed. I think a lot of it comes across as Bush League. I don't want to see either side do it. Stick it on being the elite. Again, it plays to your fan base and leave it at that.
ECW did it because they knew they were third, and that was like ultimate playing to your fan base. Like, they weren't reaching that national audience that AEW is certainly hoping to reach, and Impact was hoping to reach, and WCW had already reached. So yeah, that's why ECW could get away with it. AEW, if they're going to be like ECW, cool. ECW reached a certain point and didn't get past that point. Like, everyone wants to romanticize ECW, and fuck, Tommy Dreamer's still working main events on Impact, but they they are at a certain, like, they only hit a certain level for a reason. And I think AEW has bigger aspirations as far as big picture than ECW ever reached.
Agreed. So, Jeremy, we now move on to our main event of the evening for the first ever AEW World Championship. Chris Jericho versus Hangman Page. Your thoughts?
It feels like Jericho's going to win. I have nothing against Adam Page. They've presented him well. They've given him a chance. He's done fine with it. The promo stuff has been really good. The road to the being the elite, all that promo stuff, like, that's been good. My problem with the Adam Page stuff is, all right, he won a battle royal as the last entrance, and fine, he had a gimpy leg, like, whatever. And then he went fucking 12, 15 minutes with what's his name, who's not even on this show. Like, he barely
he
beat
went
that
like
guy.
19 minutes with fucking Kip Sabian.
All right, even worse. I tried to give him some credit here. Like, that doesn't inspire. Like, that's my lasting impression of Adam Page is that match, and him going way too long with Kip Sabian, who can't even get a spot on this show. So it shows, like, how much he actually means. Just Jarek. I can't see them going into the first show with Adam Page as the champion. They might want to try to push him. They can certainly make him in this match because he's going to be working with Jericho, and he's probably going to get some good offense in. But Adam Page is the world champion. First show just doesn't inspire a lot going into it. And Jericho, damn near 50 years old, thick Jericho. I don't know how much that inspires either, but at least Jericho's got the cachet built up to where it's like, all right, hey, Chris Jericho is your champion. I'll watch this.
Yeah, it's like, at first look, I was like, I really like Adam Page. I think he's really improved over the past couple years. Definitely has star potential. And at first look, I was like, I was really on Team Page here for the win, but as you kind of ran down, it's just, and we've talked about this repeatedly, his build to make him a quote-unquote viable challenger just hasn't been there at all. He won that battle royal. He had a really flat, long match with Kip Sabian that didn't inspire anything. And I don't see him coming out as the winner and how it can look good in any way. And then on the other hand, though, it's a total catch-22 too, because Jericho is a vet. Jericho is a name. Jericho is part of the reason they were able to help get the TV deal and all that stuff. He's a star. But unfortunately, they're promising something new. They're promising a revolution. And so many people associate him with WWE, who for many are the enemy right now. They want that revolution. They want something new and fresh. I also have some concerns about the match itself. I think Page is great. But again, hasn't been positioned strongly, and I don't think the crowd investment will really be there for him. Jericho's last two major performances against Okada and Omega were very good to a point, but I also feel they left a lot to be desired compared to his Wrestle Kingdom matches with Omega and Naito. I'm hoping for the best here. I think it could be a struggle of points because I don't think Page is in a good position. I'm not sure if Jericho is going to be up to that top tier performance. I hope I'm wrong on every level. Hope they knock it out of the park. Hope they have the best fucking match on the card. But I have a lot of concerns about it, but I do think that Jericho will likely walk out as the champion to head into TV with a name in that position.
The match quality is something I'm concerned about as well because, Father Time catches up to everybody. Chris Jericho is damn near 50. We've seen him slow down over the years. The AJ match at WrestleMania was the first big sign of, all right, this guy he's lost at least a half step, if not a full step. Yeah, he had good matches with Omega and Okada. I mean, anyone can have good matches with Omega and Okada. They weren't raised to that other level that you see Omega and Okada get raised to when they're in there against, the top tier workers. Hangman Page, he's had some good matches with the right guys. We've never really seen him carry things on his own, though. And Jericho, if he is that, I think at this point it's safe to say he's a step behind. And so being a step behind, Hangman Page is going to have to really, really step up and pull his weight here. And, can he do it? Like, this is a big spot. He certainly, I think he has the ability to do it. We've just never seen it. And he's got to go out there and show that he can do it in this one. And it could be not a great way to end the night, as far as it could feel like a lesser Jericho Omega-ish, in where you had your great match against Dustin and Cody, and you had your great spot fest with the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. And then it's like, all right, Omega and Jericho, it's cool, but it's not up to those standards. Like, we're going to get Omega and Pac, which is going to be awesome. We're going to get another, like, probably even better spot fest with the ladder match. And then it's like, oh, Jericho and Hangman. All right, it might be okay, but it's not going to live up to those two, and it might just be okay.
Jericho's the big problem back with that AJ match was, to me, that was when Jericho was still trying to work like young Chris Jericho. And he couldn't keep up with AJ then. Obviously, since then, he's altered his style. And it's a slower, it's a more brawling style, and that fits him as an older performer. And when he's locked in and stuff, he does it very well. But like you said, I mean, Father Time catches up with everybody. He still works hard. He's still really smart. He can still tell a story. But those last two matches were a bit telling for me compared to, again, the Naito and Omega matches. So, like I said, that concerns me. I'm not saying it's going to suck. I'm not saying he's old and washed up. Don't anybody get into that bullshit and say I'm saying that, because I'm not. But I do have concerns. I've even talked about it, Jeremy. We've talked about it with Tanahashi. I still worry about a lot of big Tanahashi matches to a point because he is breaking down. Who knows how much longer he's still going to be able to have great matches. But I do have faith, like in that Zack Sabre match, because of the style they're going to work and because of how much of a better storyteller Tanahashi has become. So I think Jericho, for lack of a better term, is going to have to use all of his tricks here. All of his psychology, all of his knowledge, smoke and mirrors, whatever he has to do, they're going to have to use it all. And like you said, Adam Page is really going to have to step up.
What is the big closer here? Because this is the last show before television. Is it just Jericho is holding on to the title? Like that's your closer? Chris Jericho, you're out. He's the champion. Join us October 2nd on TNT for the follow-up? Or, I mean, they had Moxley at Double or Nothing. Do they have something in their back pocket to close this show?
I have heard rumors of a big surprise. I do not know what they are. I have not been given any clues to what they are. But there are a lot of rumblings on the dark Twitter that they have a huge surprise planned. and a big star. I don't know who that would be.
There's always going to be those rumblings because it's AEW. People, for better or worse, sort of expect that stuff from them right now.
Yeah, I don't know who or what it could be, but there are rumblings, and we will see. I'm not predicting anything. I don't know any news. I don't have any legit speculation on who it could be. Obviously, I think people are there's always gonna be the CM Punk's speculation, just because he's at StarCast, and people are gonna think that he's always coming back. So, I mean, I don't know, but there's been some rumblings, and we'll see what happens. And you're right, Jeremy. It might just be that it is what it is, and it's because people are expecting it, and that we get nothing. It might just be Chris Jericho standing tall, huffing and puffing with the title at the end of the show, and that's it.
The Punk rumor is obviously going to be huge because, yeah, he's got the stage show at StarCast. It's in Chicago. We know he's going to be there. And the more that they deny it almost makes it feel like the more that, okay, he's definitely coming in. Like Cody said, he'll probably end up back in WWE. Conrad Thompson is adamant that he's not going to be at All Out. And they're leaning so hard into the denial that on one hand, they could just be telling the truth, because that'd be kind of weird in pro wrestling that somebody's telling the truth. On the other hand, you're leaning so hard into it that, okay, he's definitely showing up. So they've built up that goodwill. I made this joke on, I don't know if it's a joke, but it's just an observation on Twitter that, I don't know if you saw it, Shibata was listed as coming back on the New Japan website. And it turns out, and then they pulled the paragraph, and then it turns out the website people just kind of did their own thing and didn't really know what was going on. WWE does this, and it's well, they can't get on the fucking same page with each other. New Japan does this, and it's oh my God, they've created so much more mystery around this Shibata turn and everything. AEW is very much the same way, where yeah, they could be lying to us, but they've built up goodwill through all these surprises and big moments that it could be CM Punk shows up, even though they want to deny the hell out of it.
Yeah, it's really weird. And by the way, let me throw a quick credit out to Voices of Wrestling, who I know had that info on the Shibata stuff. I don't want to be one of those assholes that never credits people. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like I said, it could be absolutely nothing, Jeremy. It could be just a bunch of pipe dreams. It could be Punk. Who the hell knows? But I mean, it'll be interesting to see, because it's a fair point. I mean, are they going to pull out something big, or is it just going to kind of be Jericho standing with the title and Omega coming out to confront him or something? Or is Moxley going to attack him and hit him with a chair and walk out because that's all he can do? Or I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. A lot of interesting things on this show and on the weekend as a whole, because as we talked about, Royal Quest, a lot of good stuff on there. Cardiff, potentially awesome main event. Then there's the Cesaro intrigue, because, again, I'm all in on Cesaro doing a 6-month stint in NXT UK. I'd love that. And it's just... And All Out, I mean, can they deliver another quality show? I mean, because Double or Nothing was really renowned for the most part. People seem to really like the other 2 free shows this summer. Can they knock it out of the park again? Obviously, they sold out the building. They have some early sellouts for TV. And they have momentum, but it's just, can they deliver again?
I think they have something in their back pocket. I don't think they're going as the closing angle for their big television show is going to just be Chris Jericho gassed out holding the world title over his head. I think they will have something big to where it's oh shit, I got to tune in October 2nd to see this guy and to see how they follow up with it.
All I'm going to say is, and I don't know if it's Punk, I don't even think it's Punk to a degree, but who the fuck knows? But all I'm going to say is they're in Chicago. And if the opening fucking riff of Cult of Personality plays, that fucking place is going to come unglued.
It's going to be a madness. And they're going to... This is why I feel like they've got something big. And again, I don't know if it's Punk either. That's going to be the rumor all the way up until the show goes off the air. But I just don't see them going into television with that being the closing shot, the gas Chris Jericho. They've got to create something big going into that first television show, because Double or Nothing closed with Moxley, and they followed that up as quick as they could with Fyter Fest and getting him on that show. And of course he did the G1 run and everything, so we couldn't do Fight for the Fallen, but they had to do something as quick as possible with him, and they created a lot of buzz coming out of that show, and they've got to create the same kind of buzz going against NXT on Wednesday. Even if they weren't going against NXT, like, you want to create that buzz just going into TNT, and they've got something. I feel like they've really got something. I don't know anything for a fact. I truly don't. It's a gut feeling that I believe they have something. And I don't know if it's as big as CM Punk. There's nothing I don't think that could be as big as CM Punk. But I do think they've got something in their back pocket where we're going to be like, oh, shit, yeah, the October 2nd, like AEW or NXT's doing well, but I got to watch that first AEW show.
Yeah, and again, it's fun to speculate, but again, we don't know anything. We're just kind of spitballing here. And Jeremy, you brought up NXT and AEW, and I think we'll go ahead and announce this now. First of all, we will have a post-podcast on Saturday night after All Out goes off the air. We will cover for certain NXT TakeOver Cardiff and AEW All Out. And then starting October 2nd, when AEW and NXT go head-to-head, we are going to start doing a Wednesday Night War podcast covering both shows, which we will record Thursday mornings, because I will have to review AEW live and then NXT afterwards. So we will record Thursday mornings, and we will have a weekly breakdown of these shows as they go head-to-head, and to see how things shake out. Jeremy, how excited are you?
I mean, everyone, I hope, heard our excitement for our big AEW NXT show last week, and I was really happy with that show. I mean, you told me you were really happy with that show. I thought we nailed it from multiple angles that even other podcasts didn't. I mean, take shots at other podcasts. I'll start wars with them. That other podcasts didn't think of and stuff. And we were fortunate enough to do one fairly quickly after the news broke. Like, we did it that night after the news broke that morning. So I can't wait for Wednesday nights. I said it last week. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, and so the fact that the day after, like less than 12 hours after the shows go off the air, we're gonna talk about the shows, and everybody can listen to our reviews of it. I'm excited because Wednesdays are going to be fun. Cody said it. Wednesdays are the most important night in wrestling now, and I don't disagree with him.
Yeah, I am really excited for it too. I know. One thing that bothers me sometimes, I hear people bitch, and these are people that have subscription websites that bitch about oh, there's so much to watch. I'm like, you do realize that you're covering this and getting paid for it. Maybe you should have a little enthusiasm about it. And like Jeremy, I'm excited because while I don't think the Monday Night Wars were perfect, I had a blast during that time period. I used to watch with friends every Monday when I was in college. And it was a great time, and now we're getting a fresh company against the established WWE, and with a lot of the fresher names in NXT, there's just a lot of potential, and I think a lot of fun can be had, so I am not going to complain about it. I might get really tired covering it all, but I'm not going to complain because I plan to have a damn good time watching all this.
I don't get anyone who is making money off of watching wrestling complaining about watching too much wrestling. It's very weird to me. Is there a lot out there? Yes. The majority of it is good, and then there's some really great stuff, and the fact that we can make a living off of it, other people can make a living off of it. Why are you complaining that there is too much? The more the better, because then, that'll drive interest in the product and hopefully drive money into our pockets.
That's right. Plus, again, and we talked about this last time, too, and we talked about just the NXT getting moved to network TV and them getting, or cable, and them getting rights fees so that the brand is actually going to be profitable now. And the fact that it's going to give guys pay raises. It's also going to give them negotiating power now. with AEW as something viable on TNT. This is a great time for the wrestling business because guys are going to have more choices, more places to make money, and that is really good. And if you really love wrestling, I think you want these guys and women to make more money and get rewarded for what they're doing. So, yeah, just an exciting time, Jeremy. I'm super excited. Speaking of excited, Jeremy, I know you wanted to talk about ROH this last weekend.
No.
I know. I'm just fucking with you.
This is actually a bit that usually you tell me before we start recording, and you're like, "Oh, by the way, we're going to talk about ROH," and I get pissed off with you off the air. This one you did not clue me in on, and you scared the shit out of me.
No, I just want to see what you'd say. No, they had a solid weekend of events. The TV tapings were better than the second night. So
I didn't see all of the shows. I watched a decent amount of the shows. The 15 people were in attendance. No one cares. Matt Taven's the champion. Mark Radulich is happy. Everyone else is pissed off.
Yeah, the optics were not good in the crowd there, but yeah. The good news is, though, I will say from those shows is Lifeblood and Villain Enterprises continue to kick ass.
Yeah, they can't catch a break, though, that they want to do this title change.
I know, cursed again.
PCO's out here diving on nobody on the concrete and busting his eye open.
Yeah, that was fucking nasty, too, man. That was
disgusting.
Yeah, my man popped up, looked like he came out of an MMA fight, man.
Yeah, that didn't look good at all, but he's not... I guess he's a little bit human. The match, or the injury, kept him from that match. So Skrull's contract is going to run out before they can get the title off of him.
I know, it feels that way. So, but again, Jeremy, thank you as always, brother. We will be back Saturday night late after All Out, and we will break down what we were able to watch that day. And my plan is to live cover NXT TakeOver Cardiff on the site, so you guys can follow along with that. I will also be doing live coverage at AEW All Out that evening. We will podcast afterwards, and then early Sunday morning, my plan is to get to New Japan Pro Wrestling Royal Quest, because unfortunately that overlaps with TakeOver Cardiff. If they could start about 2 hours earlier, that would have been great, but alas, they can't. So
You'll end up watching New Japan between the end of TakeOver and the beginning. I don't actually know if you'll have time to do that, but
no. Trust me, I need my time out of the wheelchair, and I need to eat.
You'll find a way, Larry.
So. But yeah, so again, thank you all for listening. This is the 411 on Wrestling podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and of course the 411mania.com website. Please make sure to subscribe and share the show around. We appreciate when you do leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Jeremy, anything in closing other than you love the new Taylor Swift album?
That's it. Everyone go get the new Taylor Swift album. I hear album sales are... it's already the top selling album of the year in like 2 days, so she's not having a problem with album sales, but everyone should get it anyway.
Poor girl. Sounds like she's struggling, Jeremy. I don't know.
She is. I don't know how she survives in this world.
All right. Again, thank you guys, and we will be back late Saturday, early Sunday.